comes to video games, the controller is as important as the video game, if not more. But a controller's clicks and clacks and aesthetics and design and details usually leave a huge impression on people and give them a lot of special memories. But so today I want to go over my collection of controllers and see what makes them so special to me. I'm going to be able to be doing a ranking to see which one of them is the actual best of the bunch. So let's start off with the Xbox 360 controller. Now, let's go over the layout of this thing first. So to start, we have the four main buttons. Sorry, my fingers just... The four main buttons. Two control sticks or joysticks, or what do you want to call it. A directional pad, also known as a D-pad. The two buttons for back and start. An Xbox One that I have no idea. Two sets of shoulder buttons, a B set of shoulder buttons, and a T set of shoulder buttons. And finally, a battery pack. Oh, why am I getting in the way so much? Anyway, to start off with, many people's favorite things about the controllers, at least to me, is the sound. And when you're comparing controllers like this to the N64 and GameCube, yeah, it's pretty quiet. But overall, I'd say it's pretty quiet for people who like quiet noises. And the design of it looks incredible. I really like it. Especially the back. Like, goddamn, they cooked with the aesthetic and the shine. So let's go over my cons now. So first, what is this D-pad? I mean, yeah, it kind of functions like a third joystick, but it's a bit weird how it's attached to this circle thing. And also, why is the A and B buttons swapped around? And on top of all that, while the T shoulder buttons, while being good, feel kind of out of place compared to the B set of shoulder buttons. There is another type of Xbox controller that I will be going over, but it's much better. Now, moving on though, we have the Pro controller for the Nintendo Switch. It's pretty much the same as the Xbox 360, but with a few minor differences. As per tradition, we have the four main things, the four main buttons, the two joysticks, the D-pad, and the two sets of shoulder buttons. I broke this set of shoulder buttons, so womp womp. And after that, things get a bit more interesting. First, we have this button that lets us go directly to the home. This minus and plus thing that can be found on the Switch Joy-Con, which I'll go over in a minute. This thing, which I honestly have no idea. I don't really use Pro controllers that often. And finally, I believe this is for screenshots and stuff. Overall, this controller's grips are mesmerizing. I've held this thing on for 3 hours sometimes. But I did not feel any discomfort at all. And on top of all that, it just looks really cool. I can genuinely go into this thing and look behind it and think and say, oh, yeah, this is the N64 controller. So overall, I'd say it's better than the Xbox 360 controller, but not by much. Oh, and it's about time they actually put the A button in their correct spot. Hooray! Moving on, though, we have, well, I think I have the most to talk about for this entire video. The three Joy-Cons. Actually, I do have a fourth, but I couldn't find it for this video, so you know what? Double womp womp. Anyway, so the blue and red are nothing too interesting, but the green is actually unique due to the fact that it has what people like to call a drift mechanic. Oh, and if you're wondering what a drift mechanic is, well, it's basically you just lay it down, nothing happens that much, and something just happens in the game that you don't do. It's really that simple. Now, let's just go over the main types of a Joy-Con. I'm going to be starting by, usually their side views, and then I'm going to combine them. So let's start with the right Joy-Con. The four main buttons, the control stick, which you can press down on, the home button, and the plus. As well as the side buttons on the side, and the HD rumble. These are generally probably the most advanced controllers I have ever used. Oh, and by the way, this is a day one controller. I've had this ever since I was 7 years old, which is when I got my Switch. But yeah, I'm getting a bit off track. Anyway, moving on, we have the minus version of the controller. And don't worry, it's not a negative in any way. Oh, and I sort of forgot, there's a home button on this thing, if I already said that. Now, real quick, this is basically the same thing, but the fact that the plus sign is replaced with a minus, and the home button is replaced with a screenshot button. Now, moving on though, when you combine these together, they're used vertically. And what's even better is, now we have the two shoulder buttons on top, which I like to call the top shoulder buttons. And as you can see, they're very consistent with each other, despite being on such a tiny controller. Now, I know that people criticize the Joy-Cons due to the fact they're really small. But honestly, I think that's what makes them so unique. I'm tired of seeing controllers in advertisements and just saying, oh, okay, it's big, nice. I very much prefer the uniqueness and comfort of the Joy-Con. And on top of all that, they just look really pretty. I don't know. There's just something about the simple one-color palette about these that suits it a lot better, in my opinion. On top of all that, the grips are just really easy to hold and stuff. Let's just say that you need to go somewhere and you want to bring your Nintendo Switch. You forgot your Joy-Con? Oh boy, just run back, just swipe it, and just run away. I've been through that scenario plenty of times. So I think you can understand why I love the Joy-Cons so much. So expect them to be pretty high on the list. But don't worry, it's not going to be a three-way tie. I still have my individual rankings for them. More on that later though. Moving on, we have what I probably have the least to say about the controller. How do I say this? Ah, yes. Handlers. So, this is the wheel handler. Sometimes you just like, oh, so wait, where do I, hold up a minute. Oh, this is awkward. Why am I doing this? Why am I messing up in this stuff? Anyway, the wheel is mainly used for games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and other racing games. I mean, I was lucky enough to get it with these shoulder button things that makes the shoulder buttons on the side much easier to use. Because let's be honest, no one's using the joystrap from MK8DX. And also, when I saw the Super Mario Party came out, tried Soundstage, it said hold vertically, use the strap. I just said screw the strap. And do not worry, my PC hasn't broken yet. Anyway, I find this wheel pretty comfortable to use. My only criticism with it is that it's only really useful for MK8 Deluxe and nothing much beyond that. But I also think it delves deeper into this controller. This is mainly just the Pro controller. But now it functions like, it's basically the Joy-Con controller. The design is pretty much the same, just not much has been changed about it. Anyway, the shoulder buttons are once again much better. And I just find it a lot more comfortable to hold. Because there's these like things on the side that you can hold compared to the thing. This is the wheel where there's honestly not that much to hold. Oh, and by the way, don't worry, they're not an absolute pain to take out. Because there's this like they deliberately carved out a hole in the side so you can just push the Joy-Con out, which is very convenient for people like me who have difficult time getting the thing out. And finally, we have the ring handle. I honestly don't like this. This is mainly used for games like Ring Fit Adventure. And while I do think it has its fair share of things I like how the design is really, really cool, I just think, like, on the contrary, on the opposite spectrum of the Joy-Cons, it's just way too big. And on top of all that, whenever I try to squeeze it in Ring Fit Adventure, I just find it to be really uncomfortable. So yeah, I think you can see why I don't like it. Moving on though, we have our final 3 controllers. So let's go back to our old friend, the Xbox 360, for a minute. And let's take a look at our new controller. holy smokes, they absolutely cooked with this remaster. Now, first off, the D-pad is no longer with that weird circle thing. One bonus. While I do think the sphere thing was pretty good on the 360 version, the flat one looks a lot cleaner on this controller. On top of all that, it just looks like a lot more shiny. It's really beautiful looking, and the shoulder buttons feel like the shoulder buttons diversion from the first set to the second set are smooth. You don't really feel that much drawing in between them. The only slight complaints I have about this controller is the fact that they implemented the speaker button on top looks a little bit silly. And they still haven't changed over that A and B button, which is honestly a bit disappointing. Moving on though, we have our final two controllers. Starting off with the double Joy-Con handler. Now this functions the same as the wheel and the handler and the ring, aside from the fact that it can hold two controllers at once, which is honestly a lot more comfortable. And on top of all that, there's like, it looks a lot like a Pro controller, and now it feels a lot more comfortable. You can play without having to use the straps, which I already talked about. I don't like very much, and overall it just looks a lot cooler. I mean, look at this. It could just stand on its own. Like, how does that even happen? And the last controller I'll talk about today is this controller. Now, I don't think that this really classifies as a controller because it's mainly used for plugging in your phone and things like that. But it's pretty cool. I mean, you can use it to play games like Mario Run or stuff. So, I'll give it a pass. I mean, I do like using this bad boy every once in a while when I want to play some Dragon City or Mario Run or things like that. I just bust out this bad boy every once in a while. But I don't think I have anything else to say beyond that. Alright, time for the moment you've all been waiting for. In last place, we have the ring. It's just not very usable at all. In 10th place, we have this controller. Well, I did say a lot of positive things. It's pretty useless when trying to play video games on, like, legitimate consoles. At number 9, we have this. Now, despite the fact it has more uses than MK8, I honestly don't find myself using it a lot more. At 8th place, we have the Xbox 360 controller, which is a lot more comfortable to hold than the others, but as usual, the aesthetics just aren't really that clean, and I just look at it and think, oh boy, I'm in for a rough time. At number 7, we have the wheel. Now, this adds a lot more excitement to when you're playing MK8 Deluxe and stuff. At number 6, we have the Drift Joy-Con. Now, while it is the same as the other two Joy-Cons, it's really not simple. The drift can sometimes be very annoying. Now we're into the top 5, starting off with the double Joy-Con controller. I like it very much. And number 4, we have, I think probably my hottest take of the entire video, the Pro controller for the Nintendo Switch. Well, I find it to be really comfortable. One thing I didn't mention is just that, like, it's way too light. I mean, look at this. I can literally just have 2 fingers and I can hold on to it with just 2 fingers. How does that even happen? At number 3, we have the blue controller, Joy-Con. While it is cool having a second variant of the Joy-Con, it's a bit inconvenient not being able to go to the home screen directly. At second place, we have the other Xbox controller. I have no idea where it goes to. I mean, it looks very nice, and it just feels pretty heavy. I mean, I can still hold it with 2 hands, but I had to put more effort. And overall, it just feels a lot more comfortable. which means that the best controller I have ever had is the red Joy-Con. Despite being the smallest Joy-Con we have, it is still phenomenal. I've spent countless hours just playing Super Mario Party, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Luigi's Mansion 3, Mario Party Superstars, Super Mario Party Jamboree. I cannot believe I'm saying this when that game just came out. But whatever it is, I've had a lot of nostalgic memories with just this little piece of art. Nintendo, I cannot thank you enough for inventing the Joy-Cons. So there you have it, my ranking of all the controllers. Oh, and I also came up with a tier list I want to just share right now. The red Joy-Con is the S tier, obviously. The Xbox controller, blue Joy-Con, and the Pro controller are all A tier. Double Joy-Con controller, handler, green drift Joy-Con, and the wheel handler are all B tier. Xbox 360 and handler are C tier. While this, like the phone controller and the ring, are D tier. So overall, I'd say there's no controls which I'd consider to be outright bad. So I hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time.